Hi everyone. It's truly a pleasure for me to be here and to be speaking with you all. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different direction and explain to you how I came to Bitcoin and what it means to me being from Rwanda, and then also what I'm doing with my work at FEDI and as a human rights defender. But first of all, I wanted to show you here it goes. I wanted to show you where my country is. This is Rwanda. It's in Central Africa. It is the heart of Africa, we said. We have 1,000 hills, over 1,000 hills. It is a beautiful country. The Nile that many of you guys have heard starts from there. But despite this beauty, my country has gone through some difficult time. In 1994, there was a genocide. It was called the Rwandan genocide, in which over 100,000 people in which 800,000 people were killed in 100 days. What caused this was really the rise of autocratic tendency in our country, but also the rise of hate. We have two major ethnic groups in my country, the Hutu and the Tutsi. And at the time, the people in power were the Hutu. And they used hate language as a way to keep power and as a way to make people afraid of others, and in this way, many Tutsis were killed. This was to protect their own economic power mostly, but also leadership. During this genocide, a lot of Rwandans had to flee to neighboring countries, to the Congo, to Tanzania, and across Europe and the United States. I, during the genocide, lost my biological parents, my father and my mother, because they were Tutsi. I survived by the kindness of Hutu and other people who did not know me. They believed in justice, and they believed that no one should be killed for who they are and what they believe in. At the end of the genocide, I was adopted by Paul Rusesabagina, who is this man here, who's actually my uncle. My sister and I were raised like his children, among 4 other beautiful children as well too, and we had a beautiful life. We left Rwanda and had to go to Belgium because actually it was much more difficult than that. We had to leave because it was difficult to start over in our country, kind of like us were talking about. And during the genocide, my father was the manager of a hotel. It was called the Hotel Rwanda. And when the genocide began, he decided to use the hotel as a place for refuge. And he saved over 1,000 people during the genocide. Whether they were Tutsi or Hutu, he saved them. This story was told in the movie Hotel Rwanda, which is right here, in 2004. It was a big movie that received a lot of praises in Hollywood, in Europe, and across the world. Sometimes people learn about our country through this movie. Maybe here in Thailand, you may have heard about it. But when the movie came out, it gave my father the platform to speak about what is happening in my country, in Rwanda. And after the genocide, our country became even more repressive than it was before. We have one president who's been the leader. His name is Paul Kagame. He's changed the constitution 3 times, and all to stay in power. Now, the last elections, he won by 99.15%. That was in 2024, 2 years ago. And we've received billions of dollars to support our country, to support our economic development. And despite that, our country remains the 26th poorest country in the world. And one of the ways Kagame has hold on the country is through fear, surveillance, and taking away any opposition or free media. So our country, Rwanda, is very similar to in Myanmar, except that it's not a junta that's in power, it's a elected government. But in fact, these people are terrorizing our country, but also the people in our region. Paul Kagame, also maybe some of you guys may have heard of Rwanda through Visit Rwanda. If you watch Arsenal, if you like football, you know PSG in France, they also wear Visit Rwanda. Now Atletico de Madrid in Spain also wears Visit Rwanda. So they're spending a lot of money around the world trying to whitewash the actions of our country, trying to whitewash the killings in our country, trying to whitewash the real story of what's happening. And my father had used his platform to say that this guy, Paul Kagame, was lying to the world, that actually in our country we had not gone through real reconciliation, that actually in our country we don't have real economic development. Today, in anybody who wants to open a business and has some kind of success has to bring in the government to work with them. If you need to have access, government has to allow you to do anything. You cannot do anything without permission from the government. And on top of that, if you are not on their side, they will kill you, they will put you in prison, or they will make you disappear. So this is what happened to my father. This is him here. In 2020, he was kidnapped by the regime and brought to force to Rwanda. My father was in the United States and brought to force to Rwanda, and he was accused of terrorism, which was a lie. They accused him of that because they wanted to use him as an example for all Rwandans inside of our country or outside of our country, that if you dare to speak up, if you dare to say the truth, if you dare to talk for your people, then we will put you in prison. If we can do that to him, we can do that to anyone. This is called really transnational repression. It's quite a technical term in the human rights space, but it's really when government go beyond borders to push their own agenda and repress their dissidents and silence critics. And so for us as a family, I was in my mid-20s, living my life. I had just finished university, working in global health and doing a lot of work in malaria in West Africa. But I had to stop all of that so I could focus on my family and help my dad out of prison. We started advocating in many platforms in the United States, in Africa, in Europe, to see if we could get support and secure his release. And through our advocacy, the government put Pegasus on my sister's phone. So Pegasus is a spyware by the NSO group that allows a government to have full access of your phone. So they can see all bank transactions that you're doing. They can take videos on your phone without you knowing it. It can record. It's as if your phone that you have in your hand there, I have in my hand, and I can see everything. That was very, very scary for us because on one end, our dad is in prison. Now the government is following every single movement that we're doing, trying to advocate for him. And we need help from people, and people are scared to talk to us now because they say, well, what if I send a message to Anaïse or Karine and the government's gonna see him? What if I send money to the family to support them and then the government sees it? What's gonna happen to me? So we were ostracized by our community. People were afraid by this technology, and that had serious implications in our advocacy for my father. We had to pay the lawyers in Rwanda who were risking their lives to defend my father. And how do you get money if you don't have money to support? People are scared to give you money to help you for your father. So these were very real life situation that we're living in that we didn't know what to do. And we were thinking, like, how can one small family fight against a government that has unlimited resources? And my sister and I went to a conference called the Oslo Freedom Forum in Oslo, run by the Human Rights Foundation. And I learned the term freedom technology. And I learned about how activists and human rights defenders can empower themselves using technology and even out the playing field against this dictatorship, these governments with unlimited resources. Of course, we are not going to be able to beat the government like that, but if we empower ourselves with the right technology, we might be able to do our work better and safer. Some of these freedom technology include Bitcoin, which I will talk to you a little bit more about, but also include communication tools that are much safer, like Signal, and many others. They include Nostr, which are platforms where you can like similar to social media, where you can own your data, own your keys, and you cannot be deplatformed. Just like these governments who try to deplatform activists talking about what's happening in the country. So for me, Bitcoin was really interesting because I was like, wait, there is a way for us to receive money in our campaign and also send the money to our lawyers, and the government is not gonna know, and the government is not gonna take the money away. I was just, wow, this is amazing. And so and I realized that not having financial access to do my work would actually not allow me to do anything. Thankfully, the government never got that far, but as I started learning more about Bitcoin, I realized really how governments, specifically autocratic government, weaponize the financial system to silence and restrict dissident and freedom. So one way they do that is by freezing bank accounts, by putting people in prison as political prisoner, so the family runs out of money. They do that by inflating the currency, and that makes the people poorer and more. It gets more difficult to get out of poverty. They do that by also making transactions more expensive. And so I started asking myself the question: if we don't have access to money, I will not be able to continue advocating for my dad and many other people who are in the same situation. And in my continent, in my country specifically, if people don't have financial resilience and financial autonomy, they will never have the agency to support any movement within our country and change the regime and change what's happening. Because all starts about being able to be financially empowered and financially resilient. And the government autocratic countries do not want their population to be financially resilient, because that puts them on the side and keeps them in power. So, why was I really excited by Bitcoin? Is because it has no central authority, so nobody's gonna take the money away. Nobody's gonna freeze it. People who are from my country in Rwanda who have been displaced, who have left as refugees, now live in the DRC or in Tanzania. Many of them don't have IDs today, but they have a phone. And so what can they do? They can open a wallet and receive remittance and support from their loved ones from across. So I found that Bitcoin was really a way to welcome so many folks in the financial system who were excluded out of it, but also for people like me and my countrymen and countrywomen who are under a repressive regime to be able to be resilient and protect ourselves and to do our work better. And so fast forward, I want to go back first. My dad was freed in the end after 939 days. So that was in March 2023. So it's been 3 years. And in the last 3 years, I have done more work and have been learning more about how Bitcoin can support people, sharing my story as well for others who don't fully understand it, because I was very skeptical at first. I didn't know what Bitcoin was about. It was this crypto bros, very techie, like that was not my world. But really, these people who I was intimidated by were actually the ones building the technology that can help me to do my work much better. And some of these people are like companies like Fedi, if I manage to get my slides back. Sorry about that, Fedi. And Fedi is a company that is more than just a wallet or a communication platform. It's really the infrastructure that allows human rights defenders to operate. So it is an application, and my friend and my colleague, Deya, is going to tell you more about it later this afternoon, but it's an application that can allow human rights defenders operate in a private way, send money and receive money securely, and communicate with their loved ones and their communities in a secure way as well too. So it's just a one-stop shop for everything that human rights defenders really need to do, and it's perfect for people who are operating in hostile environment like I was operating, but then also beyond. So it's a true pleasure for me to be here to learn more about the situation here, specifically the communities in Myanmar who are facing similar hardship that my people are facing in Rwanda. The more we learn from each other, the more we can support each other. But at the end of the day, without the technology to help us even the playing field, we will not be able to fight these regimes. And this is where Bitcoin comes as our freedom money. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anaïse.